I would like to take a few minutes to talk about my dad and all the amazing things he's done. Where do I even begin? You've had a great career as a police officer, and now it's time to celebrate. You started your career in Chester in July of 1993 and left to work for Plumstead Township in July of 2000 for a safer life to raise me. I was just a barely year old at the time you moved townships, and when I was old enough to understand why, I knew you did it for your family, and I want to thank you for this selfless action. I'm really glad you changed towns, because I like Plumstead a lot. A nice, safe environment where I never had to worry about you getting hurt. I always enjoyed taking a trip up there to hang out with all your cop buddies. In fact, I remember this past December, where most of the Bucks County police forces came together at the Plumstead Kmart to hold a Christmas wish shopping spree for low-income children and their families. I remember the night like it was yesterday, mostly because of the night after Carson Wentz tore his ACL. Anyway, it was a frigid December night, wind blowing through the 20 layers I had on, the parking lot stained white from all the salt, and dozens of cop cars littered the lot. As the heat washed over my face when we entered, my attention was drawn directly to the large number of police officers greeting us. Soon after arriving, my dad was given a 12-year-old girl, and I will never forget her bright, smiling face, anxious to start shopping. The little girl's face lit up like a Christmas tree they were selling in the next section whenever she picked out something she liked on the shelf. It was truly a magical experience. My dad later said in a newspaper interview that he was glad he had the opportunity to help these kids have a happy Christmas considering their financial problems at home, and I am happy to have done that with my dad. I had my first driving lesson with you, and thankfully, not Mom. I remember sitting outside the cabin in Maine, sun setting to the right of us, creating a spectacular color show in the sky and reflecting on the lake. You came up behind me and said, "You want to go get ice cream? You're driving." I remember looking around at my family and screaming, "Yes!" without any hesitation. As I stepped into the tank, as it felt at the time, I remember a wave of nervousness that just took over my body. My dad stepped into the car and said, "Okay, let's go," with a reassuring voice. The road that leads into town is made of dirt, and it goes through dense woods, so I roll down my windows and the smell of pine quickly floods the car. When we get closer and closer to the town, a car appears from the top of the hill, coming the other way, and that nervousness returned. As the car passed, I found I had driven off the road, and my dad stayed calm throughout and made me gain back my confidence. We finally made it to the ice cream shop in one piece, and when I got out of the car, the keys were still in the ignition. We both just laughed and went inside, where I had the best tasting ice cream I've ever had. Now, without further ado, how could I talk about my dad without mentioning his temper? My dad always had a short fuse whenever anything didn't go his way. The situation that first comes to mind was when we were on vacation and he tried to dock the boat in the wind. My dad, my brother, and I had just come home from a day of fishing, and the wind had picked up significantly, to the point that the lake started resembling an ocean. As we got closer to the dock, I knew this was going to be tough, and I knew my dad was going to get angry and start yelling. Me and my brother jumped onto the dock to try to guide the boat in, but Mother Nature wasn't having any of it. The wind picked up more and the waves got even bigger, and was pushing the boat away from our outstretched hands. Meanwhile, my dad was cursing up a storm to rival the one he's battling. You could probably hear the yelling and cursing from across the lake, if I'm being honest. Finally, we got the boat tied up to the dock, and me and my brother got out of the way faster than a bullet from a rifle to make room for the beast. My dad let out one last swear before locking himself in the house for the rest of the night. Anyway, disregarding all the negatives, my dad is one of, if not the best human beings I've ever met. And I can never repay you for shaping my personality and pushing me throughout my life. You have always been there for me, through the good, the bad, and the ugly. You have been there for me when I took my first steps on a Sunday morning while on vacation, to reading my acceptance letter from Penn State on crisp October day. At every baseball game I've ever had, I could always see you in the stands cheering me on. I know you back me up on every decision I make, from deciding what college I should attend to what I should get for dinner. All kidding aside, I want you to raise your glass and help me congratulate my dad, Joe Listoka, on his retirement.